Welcome to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show, featuring Seth Matthew. Unfortunately, Seth is not going to be with us today. He is in Las Vegas, Nevada, and his pool league team won the championship in Colorado. They are now competing on a national level, and they are in Vegas for the next 2 or 3 more days. And we'll get a report from Seth, and I'll be able to get Seth to tell us really what's been going on. We were hoping to get him live today, but it's just a little bit non-conducive when you're playing in a tournament like that. But anyways, I want to welcome you. This right here is Brothers Bar and Grill. And we tried a different angle today, mainly because you need to be able to see what's behind me. And a lot of times we have just this Ford sign. By the way, Ford, we are not in any way infringing upon your copyrights. Please understand that, either for you or for 104.3 The Fan. We got some notifications for copyright violations, and maybe it's because of this sign behind me. And I want to make sure that we are not in violation. Anyways, welcome. I'm excited to be here. I'm doing a little solo. I'm gonna do things a little differently today. I don't have my microphone, so I'm trying to kind of like talk as loud as I possibly can. It just makes me feel like I'm talking to more of the audience here. Audience that showed up earlier today, I want to thank you guys for showing up. We're going to be doing some things during college football season, again with Seth's permission, that will make it more conducive for you guys to show up at 11 o'clock, get here, maybe some drink specials, maybe some food specials, but we want you to definitely come to Brothers Bar and Grill at the shops of Northfield. That's where we are right now. We're broadcasting live from here, and college football is right around the corner, folks. Let's talk a little bit about what the show is going to consist of today. But first, let me explain to you how the name Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew came about. First of all, the doctor is in regards or in honor of Dr. Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati. He was one of my favorite, people when I was growing up, and so that's the doctor part of the show. Jimbo's my nickname. Everybody from high school and my hometown of North Valley, New York, call me that. Mansfield, some of my close friends do. And then love comes, well, love is a great thing. Buddy Love, the Nutty Professor. So I was a chemist and taught for a while. And so Dr. Jimbo Love Show. And then of course featuring Seth Matthew. Seth, his radio and his professional name is Seth Matthew. He is the GM of Brothers Bar and Grill and my partner. And we've been doing the show now for almost a year, actually a year next week. And we have a lot of content on YouTube. We post a lot on LinkedIn, Getter, Facebook, Instagram. I'll do some snippets, but the main thing is that we're out there on. Wowee! Did you guys just hear that? That's some people coming into Brothers Bar and Grill here at the shops in Northfield. Folks, you should get down here. Lots of good things are happening, as you can hear in the background. So anyways, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. CU football preview. We're going to talk a little bit about the quarterback competition that is going on just less than 30 miles. Let's just say 25 miles up the road from us where we are right now. We're also going to talk a little bit about the first 4 games that CU is going to face. They do not have an easy schedule by any stretch of the imagination. So it is, wow, we just had a storm roll in, and it is absolutely pouring outside right now. Everybody's battening down the hatches. But CU has not have an easy first 4 games this year. We're going to talk a little bit about who they play and what their chances are. Also, we were going to move into and talk a little bit about CSU, a preview. Not so much of
what they have going this year, but it's first year. The coach Jay Norville, his era started in January, I'm sorry, and you know, he's got a really good philosophy. Basically, it is the air raid mentality. They want to become wide receiver university. So they've got some really good, 4 excellent receivers that are coming in for next year. These guys are people that have spurned the Power 5 conferences and decided to come and do their college career up in Fort Collins at Colorado State University Rams. We're going to talk a little bit about Brittany Griner. She got a 9-year sentence. We'll talk a little bit about the prisoner exchange possibility that she's trying to work out with the Biden administration. We're also going to talk a little bit about the fact that, you know, Brittany Griner is asking for our help, but yet she was one of the staunch, you know, members of the WNBA that didn't think that the national anthem or the flag should be presented at any of her games. Now she's begging for us to come help her. What are your feelings on that? We'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to go into some NFL news. The owner of the Dolphins is in a little bit of trouble. He tried farming out his illegal activity, and I think he got basically a slap on the wrist. What he tried to do and what he tried to pull, okay, pulling in Tom Brady, pulling in Sean Payton, who you know was the New Orleans Saints Super Bowl winning coach, and some of the other things he did for a $1.5 million fine and a 6-game suspension. Is the NFL ownership and Roger Goodell taking care of their own? We'll see. And then lastly, we're going to talk a little bit about a Nuggets player that Colin Gillespie, who broke his leg playing in a pickup game. Unfortunately, he's going to be out indefinitely, probably for the season. And, you know, again, when you look back at Michael Jordan's contract, the thing about Michael Jordan is he said, look, no one's going to tell me when or where I can play basketball. If I want to play a pickup game, it's in my contract, and I will be paid even if I get injured in a pickup game. Well, here's a gentleman right now that got hurt in a pickup game. What's going to happen to him? He's a Villanova product, good guy, two-way guard who plays hard on both ends of the floor. How much is that going to affect the Denver Nuggets? I don't think too terribly much, but let's talk about that a little bit as well. All right, one other thing before we get started, I want to talk about a company that if you're looking to put trees in your backyard or even in your front yard or anywhere that you may think of that you would like some trees, maybe it's your second home or a rental property, go to Forever Green Farms. They are centrally located out of Ithaca, New York. Scott Howard is the owner. They will hook you up. Scott has over 15 farms that he can pull his trees from. He can do 12-foot, 14-foot, 16-foot, and even the big ones, the 24 to 26 footers. He can pull them out of the ground for you. He can put them on a truck and ship them anywhere in North America. Definitely anywhere in the United States. He can be reached at any time at 607-227-3500. Folks, I'm looking outside right now. We are getting an old-fashioned rainstorm. This reminds me of storms we used to get in South Carolina and Florida. It is raining sideways. Only thing I can hope is that it's raining at my house because my yard needs the moisture. All right, so let's talk a little bit about CU and what's going on just a couple miles up the road here. And CU's preview, you have Brendan Lewis and JT Strout. Brendan Lewis was the guy who won the quarterback job last year. JT Strout went down with a knee injury. He is a Tennessee transfer, which means he's an SC caliber quarterback. And, basically it's a two-man race for these two individuals up here at CU. And once we talk a little bit about CU's opening 4 teams, one of these two guys is going to emerge. I'm not so worried about who they name as the starting quarterback, because after these first 4 games, or even somewhere within the first 4 games, we're going to see both quarterbacks play, and one of them is going to be the one who emerges as the quarterback for the rest of the season. Now, CU has also 3 other quarterbacks. Drew Carter, he's a true freshman. Maddox Kopp is a Houston transfer. Now, Houston, if you remember, did pretty well last year. This gentleman, transferred and is competing for a position. He's not considered to be in the top 2, but look for him in the future. And then we also have Owen McCown. He's a true freshman as well. These 3 guys, look for them to be more of a backup role. And unless there's catastrophic injuries, look for this to be a situation where these guys are kind of going to be competing in the future. So, CU, not an easy first 4 games. Their athletic director obviously just was looking to get quality opponents, which you can't fault him for that. But boy, has he made it tough for CU to start this season. Let's talk a little bit about their first game. It's against TCU, the Horned Frogs. And TCU last season, under new head coach Sonny Dykes, is going to be competing with a very high energy offense. Okay, Dykes came from SMU, where he put together an offensive squad that was 10th in the nation in scoring. They did about 38.4 points per game. That's a lot of points to put up every single, as an average against quality opponents that SMU played last year. Their second game is against Air Force. And we know what happened 3 years ago with Air Force. Air Force absolutely came in and trounced the Buffs. And we're hoping that doesn't happen again, although, I'm a big fan of Air Force as well. So in that kind of situation, I'm just looking and hoping that there's no injuries on either side. Air Force averaged 30.8 points per game last year. They had 328 yards in rushing offense per game last year. Game number 3, not a picnic. They need to travel to Minnesota and play the Golden Gophers. Now, if you remember last year, and Seth can talk about Minnesota until he's blue in the face because that's his favorite team next to OU, but Minnesota lost their best running back last year. Well, guess what? He decided not to go pro. He's coming back. And Minnesota's been scoring 25.5 points per game as of last year. But the big thing is that they have 198.1 yards per game. And that was without their best running back. How much better do you think that'll be this year? They're going to be a run-first team, I believe. And so CU has their handful, especially playing in Minneapolis. And then game number 4 is UCLA. Not a picnic for anybody in the Pac-12 this year. UCLA has about 37.6 points per game from last season. They were 12th in the country. That's just 2 spots behind the SMU coach and their coaching staff at TCU. The Buffs, just in comparison to show you, the Colorado Buffs were only scoring on an average of 18 points a game last year. That is the worst point output for a CU squad in the past 10 seasons. So CU's got a lot of work ahead of them. It'll be interesting. We'll be following them, and we'll let you know because we'll be reporting on them for the first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games, however long they're relevant. If they lose those first 4 games, not good. Not good at all. I mean, their season's over with. Their bowl chances are very, very minimal. Remember, you have to win 6 games to be bowl eligible. All right, moving on. Again, as you can see behind me, things are heating up down here at the shops of Northfield at Brothers Bar and Grill. Come on down. It's raining outside like cats and dogs, but come down here and have a beer. Remember, we've got, I call it the we because I feel a part of this family. We have so many TVs, any TV that you would want tuned in to your specific, taste or whatever you want to see. If you want to watch a Seattle Mariners game, if you want to watch a Pittsburgh Pirates game, something like that, just let us know. We'll put it on the TV for you. We've got Cody down there bartending. He's slinging drinks. He knows how to pour them, and this is the place to be this afternoon. So hopefully we'll see more of you come on down here. It's already busy as it is, but come on in and we'll take great care of you. All right, let's talk a little bit about CSU Rams up in Fort Collins. Now, Jay Norval's era just started at the beginning of the year here. He has basically said that his offense is nothing more, nothing less than an air raid offense. His goal is for CSU to become wide receiver university, and for as many of these, he's trying to get as many of these receivers as he possibly can away from the Power 5 conferences. And I've got 4 receivers to highlight for you that have chosen to go to CSU over the Power 5. And that's the kind of coach we need up there. Okay, CSU has been hurting. Okay, they are 11-29 over the past 4 seasons. Not good. They beat Arkansas. Okay, that would be one of their major highlights. But that Arkansas team, even though it's an SEC team, finished 2-10 that season. So it was a very bottom-feeding SEC team that they beat. And that's the only Power 5 team they've beaten out of their last 6 tries and in the last 4 seasons. I'm going to take a little sip here of my Moscow Mule. Beautifully made by Cody. So let's talk a little bit about these wide receivers that are coming in 2023. We'll talk a little bit more about CSU's outlook for this year next week. So tune in for that. We're going to exclusively go into Air Force and CSU, also Wyoming, and talk a little bit more in detail about them. But we have Le'Veon Brown. He's a California product. And let's just check here to see where he's out of. And let's just push that over there. He had a chance to go to Arizona, Arkansas, Florida State, Oregon, and USC. And out of all those schools, he chose CSU. So that's a really good thing, and that says a lot for Norville and his recruiting staff. We've got the next gentleman is Justin Marshall. He's out of Indiana. Look for him next year. We have Stefan Daly out of Arizona. These guys all chose CSU over Power 5 schools. The one we want to highlight most is a local product. His name is Silas Evans III. He is out of George Washington High School, same high school that Chauncey Bullet Phillips went to back in the day. Chauncey's a 1993 graduate from the school and has went on to do great things in the NBA. So he chose CSU, and we will be looking for all 4 of these receivers to be on campus next fall at CSU or sooner. The Rams are trying to get the attention of ESPN and Fox. Let's face it, folks. I mean, college football now has 2 masters. One is ESPN, and the other is Fox. If you do not have contracts or media contracts with these 2 networks, you're hurting. The SEC has their own network, the ACC has their own network, but really Fox and ESPN is the teams that are the networks that you are really trying to impress and trying to get airtime, because without them, you're not going to have any kind of, media presence or really, nationwide coverage. Do we know what's going to happen with the Mountain West? The Mountain West is sitting there with teams like San Diego State, Boise State. Okay, what's going to happen is the Pac-12, which is now the Pac-10, after the departure of USC and UCLA, are they going to eat up and gobble up some of these Mountain West teams, or maybe some Big Sky Conference teams? It really looks like they will put these conferences in jeopardy, because they're going to pull, of course, the best type of program they can from there. You see that there's talk of Big 10, Big 12, people coming in and poaching these people. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with it. Let's talk about some of the teams that have already been scooped up. You've got BYU, okay? CSU has got to be more like these three teams I'm going to talk about next. Okay, remember, CSU is 11-29 over the past 4 seasons. Folks, that doesn't cut it. That doesn't move the needle with ESPN or Fox. How are you going to go to a Big 12 conference or a Pac-12 conference or a Big 10 conference if you've only won 11 games in 4 years? Do you think they really want to bring a cellar dweller in? No, they don't. Let's look at BYU. Last year, BYU was 5-0 against Pac-12 opponents. Okay, they've been 35-16 since 2008. That's their overall record. 10-6 versus Power 5 and Notre Dame opponents. Cincinnati, 44-7 since 2018. They are 6-3 against Power 5 opponents. If you are somebody who's not in a Power 5 conference, the only way you're going to get any kind of notification or any kind of thing, any kind of notability is going to be by beating the best. The best are the Power 5 conference. Cincinnati, 44-7. That is very impressive. They've been 6-3 in the Power 5, as I said earlier. UCF out of Florida, Orlando, Florida. Back in 1993, I lived just down the street from CSU, or UCF, and got a chance to go and watch them in the Citrus Bowl on a number of occasions. It was a lot of fun. But their record has been 37-12. 37-12 over the past 4 seasons. How have they fared against the Power 5? 4-3. Not great, but hey, you won 4 and you lost 3. You're hanging in there tough. You're not some pushover team. We look at CSU, and unfortunately, they played against Alabama and lost by 65 points. Not good. So, anyways, we'll talk a little bit more about CSU football and a little bit about what kind of product and some of the individuals they're going to be putting on the field next week with Seth. And it should be a pretty good show. All right. Around the world in sports, what is the biggest story this week has been the Brittany Griner and her trial. And for those of you that haven't heard, Brittany Griner was playing, kind of moonlighting, and playing for a basketball team out of Russia. Brittany Griner came out of Baylor. She's 31 years old. She has won 2 Olympic gold medals. She is very, very tall, very, very big, and very talented. Unfortunately, she flew into Russia in February, and according to her sources, she didn't know that she had some vape cartridges in her luggage. She claims that these cartridges were prescribed by her doctor, and I believe her, because I think that, in this country, if you have trouble sleeping or if you have anxiety, a lot of people go see their doctor, and cannabis is a way to help alleviate those issues. unfortunately, she was flagged by the Russian government. And of course, everybody knows she's been imprisoned right before the war with Ukraine started, and she's still in prison there. Unfortunately, she pled guilty to drug possession, but the Russian court slapped her with a 9-year sentence, prison sentence. And it wasn't for simple possession. It was for what they consider in Russia drug trafficking. Okay, trumped up charge, big time. Okay, they're using her as a political pawn. Now, the Biden administration has made a couple, ideas and scenarios for prison exchange. And, the other side to the coin is, and what a lot of people are waking up to in this country is we're going back to what Brittany Griner said about the playing of the national anthem at all WNBA games and the flag. She said that she wants to stay in the locker room and not participate in the playing of our national anthem. Okay? So, is this karma? Is she receiving a bit of karma? And should our country go bend over backwards, 3 prisoners that are way, way, way worse, international prisoners, in exchange for her because she decided, and I think she knew, that she had those cartridges and brought them over. For Christ's sake, she could have had somebody send them to her through the mail. But, I don't think anybody out there should face 9 years for 2 cartridges of marijuana. But unfortunately, the Russian government is using this as an international incident, and they're just doing this, to maybe get as much as they can. But while Brittany sits over there, unfortunately, hopefully she's thinking a little bit about the national anthem. Maybe when she comes back, if she comes back before this 9-year sentence. And remember, it's not like the United States where you get half your time awarded to you off because you have good behavior. Russian prisons are nothing, they're no joke. And, I think it's really unfortunate. My heart goes out to her. But, karma's a bitch. And, my wife tells me all the time, wait, karma will get that person. And I always say, you know what? I want to get a t-shirt that says, I am karma. Because I don't like to wait. And I'm not very patient. And when someone does you wrong, it's hard sometimes to wait for the karma to kick in if you believe in that stuff, which I kind of do these days. But anyway, so Brittany's taking a very, very tough punishment for what we in this country would consider kind of a minor charge. But Russia's going to play this to the hilt, and don't expect to see anything done before the elections, the midterm elections. Maybe something between November and Christmas. We'll see something that happens. Hopefully we don't give up way too much and give in, but I would like to see Brittany come back to this country and not face the full 9 years. All right, NFL news. We have a situation with Roger Goodell and with the other NFL owners really lightly giving a slap on the wrist to an owner of the Miami Dolphins, Stephen Ross. He received a $1.5 million fine and a suspension until, I think it says here, October 17th. So I think that's the first 6 games. What did this gentleman do? Well, what he did was he went behind the back and deceptively contacted Tom Brady. Not only did he do that to Tom Brady while he was under contract with the Patriots and tried to get Brady to come to Miami as their quarterback. Okay, this would have been way before Brady decided to go to the Buccaneers. But he also tried to woo Sean Payton from the New Orleans Saints. Okay? Both of these are proven true. The other violation was he was accused of having Brian Flores throw games so they could get better draft picks. I tend to believe that they did throw those games, okay? And they did try to get themselves in a position to be higher in the draft pick, although he's not being punished for that. But $1.5 million to an NFL owner? Come on, that's like $15 to the rest of us. Maybe $150, okay? $150 is what you get for a speeding ticket here in Colorado. So, you know, was his intentions to really deviate the NFL? I mean, he went for one of the premier coaches and really the premier quarterback, and all he got was a $1.5 million fine and a 6-game suspension. See, this is where the NFL takes care of their own. And, you know, what would this have been if this had been, you know, an agent? Would the agent have lost his ability to ever represent another NFL player? His livelihood? What if it was a coach? What if it was a bunch of coaching staffs out there trying to woo Tom Brady, okay, illegally, and then successfully doing it? So you have to ask, you know, again, you know, does the NFL take care of its own? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I think this guy got off way too light. Now, he, of course, you know, used a surrogate person to do all the negotiating, but that person who was, I'm sorry, I've got his first name is Bruce, and I can't remember his last name, but anyways, it doesn't really matter. He was just a pawn in this whole thing. He was reporting back to the ownership, all the different agencies, telling them exactly what their conversations were with Sean Payton and Tom Brady. So I think that he should have been suspended, you know, maybe 3 years. Make an example of this guy. You can't have people tampering with other players that are under contract. Okay? I can't believe the owners didn't care enough to jump on board to really send a message to this guy and say, hey, this is not what we do in this league. Okay? So, anyways, that's the Miami Dolphins. All right, for our last bite today, and I'm using that as a Laura Ingraham, I'm kind of stealing it from her, but I love the way she says that. Her last bite. We have a Nuggets player, and let's take a look here real quick if I can pull him up. And unfortunately, give me 1 second here. Well, we have our Nuggets player, Colin Gillespie, who was out, you know, having some fun, you know, playing around in a pickup game, and he ended up breaking his leg. He's a Villanova product. I think you guys may remember him. He played on the 2018 NCAA championship team, and unfortunately a broken leg. It hurts the Nuggets, definitely as a practice player. He was an individual that went both ways. He was good offensively, and he was a very good defensive player. He may be out indefinitely. We don't know how long it'll be before his leg heals. But that's one person down for our Nuggets this year. Never want to hear that about anybody, especially if they're just playing a pickup game. All right. Again, we are at the shops of Northfield at Brothers Bar and Grill. As you can see behind me, we've got all the games on. Lots of people here. We just had a torrential rainstorm, so you could sit out on the patio. We'll wipe down the tables for you and just make your experience as best as possible. Plus, there's plenty of TVs on the patio as well. This might be the best time to sit on the patio because it's nice and cool out. So we got a little break here in this heat we've been experiencing here in Denver. Let's see what's on tap for next week. All right, Seth will be back. And again, we want to wish Seth and his team the best of luck. They are playing for a national championship in pool. All the pool leagues come to Vegas and they duke it out we haven't gotten any reports yet. And no news is good news when it comes to a situation like this. Chances are, if they have already lost and they were out of the tournament, Seth would have called and talked to us and told us all about it. I think they're very serious. They're focusing on their next set of games, and more power to them. So best of luck to you, Colt and Mike. Do well. Represent Colorado with all that skill that you kick my butt in every time I play you guys in the pool. All right. So next week we're going to talk a little bit about the Avs and why they remain being a favorite for the Stanley Cup next year. We'll go into a little bit of detail, a little bit about what they've done and what they've done to re-sign players and in the free agent market, which has been pretty admirable. Charlie Blackmon. Now, you know that the Colorado Rockies have lost Trevor Story, Nolan Arenado, and LeMahieu, three of our best players. Charlie Blackmon has been with the team for over a decade, and we're going to talk a little bit about how he's moving up on all of the career games played, career hits, extra bases, home runs, all the Rockies record books. He is moving up the list quickly, and he stuck around. And why did he choose to stay in Colorado and not seek the big money and all these other squads like his other fellow teammates? We'll talk about that next week. The Rockies. Hey, one thing about the Rockies is they develop young talent. And the bad thing is that young talent, once it gets here and develops into major league, all-stardom, they seem to not being able to keep them. But the Rockies' sizzling shortstop prospect could be the third in a line of Tulowitzki, Trevor Story, okay? And we have a gentleman called Ezekiel Tovar. So remember that name, Ezekiel Tovar. He's a 20-year-old shortstop, and he could soon be up with the big team, especially since the last time I looked, we were 24 and a half games behind the LA Dodgers. Our season's pretty much done this year. The other thing with the Rockies is they did nothing before the trade deadline. They signed somebody to an extended contract, but they didn't do a single trade. They have four free agents, four players that are going to become free agents. They didn't try to move any of them. So once again, the Mumfords, okay? Not a very popular family in the state of Colorado. They are putting together basically a team that's for entertainment purposes only. Now, they've been getting great crowds down at Coors Field, and anybody who ever comes to Denver, I invite you to go to Coors Field. It should be a staple and a must-see destination when you come to Denver because it is such a beautiful ballpark, and the bars and the restaurants in the outfield are just make it just such a conducive place to watch a baseball game. But unfortunately, our owners do not care about winning, and they do not care about putting a quality team that could make it to the playoffs and make a run together any further. We've become basically, you've heard of a quad A or a triple A team. We're a quad A major league ball club, okay? As soon as somebody gets good here, they leave because they want to seek the money and they want to play for a team that has a chance in the postseason, and you can't blame them. So again, hats off to Charlie Blackmon for sticking it out and sticking around. We'll be highlighting some of the stuff he does. The Orioles. The Orioles found a 7-foot tall pitcher. We'll talk a little bit about this gentleman. Now remember, Randy Johnson, okay, Hall of Fame Randy Johnson was 6'10". What kind of advantage was it for Randy Johnson? Now we've got somebody who's 2 inches taller, who is the Orioles are selecting, and good luck to Baltimore. We'll follow up and be kind of watching. This guy was picked out of the 13th round, so he's probably got some rough edges. He's going to have to spend some time down in the minors before he's ready for prime time in the show. What else we got? Alrighty. U.S. Open lets Russian tennis players in after Wimbledon ban. Huh, I like that. So the U.S. Open is being true to its name. It's an open tournament, and they're saying that it doesn't matter what your national affiliation is. We'll take the best in the world, and we will see how you compete against everybody else. We're not going to play, this game where we're not going to allow people to play over geopolitical reasons. We don't know whether or not the vaccine mandate will be in place. There's some, the number one player in the world is kind of on pins and needles waiting to see whether or not he'll be invited to play. So hopefully, they'll do the right thing. Just let the people play. COVID is under control. We have the vaccines out there. We've got the boosters. The people that want to get them have gotten them and will continue to get them. But if some gentleman, doesn't want to get the vaccine, and he's not even an American citizen, why deny him like Australia did and not allow him to compete at the ultimate level, which is, there's only 4 majors in tennis, just like golf. Let the guy play, okay? He's out in the middle of a tennis court, okay? He's not going to spread this to anybody. It's not like he's in a basketball game or a football huddle where it could really, affect other people. So, all right, so that looks like what we're going to have for next week. Again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew. Seth gives his regards out to you. He's missed the last 2 weeks, but he will be back strong next week. We'll get his insight with the NHL and all the free agency, and we're also going to delve deep into a college football preview. College football is right around the corner, folks. Thank God. The pro football had their Hall of Fame game, and that was played last Thursday evening. So NFL football is a little further out, but we're going to really concentrate on some of the different conferences, and we'll try to give you a good preview of what we're going to see, definitely in the top 10 next week. Folks, I want to thank you again for coming down. The folks that come down and watch our show, we're doing it a little bit later today, so we didn't have our normal audience that comes in. That's okay. Like I said, I'm going to talk to Seth and see if we can't run some kind of drink and food special for people that are going to show up. Every Saturday at 11 a.m. we are here, right when the doors open at Brothers Bar and Grill. And we'll be featuring the college football games, and we'll be previewing the NFL games. And then the next week we'll go back to those games that we previewed. We'll cover them in depth, and we will let you know exactly if our predictions are right. Seth and I always try to call the games, what we think's going to win, and we kind of keep a running tally. We're going to do it more officially this year so that we can find out what our overall record is. I'll tell you what, Seth is a sage. He knows his football. He knows his hockey, he knows his rugby, and he knows his picks. He called DU hockey to win the NCAA championship a month and a half in advance. He turned around and called the Avalanche, okay? Called them to win the Stanley Cup well in advance. So take what he says, listen to what he says, because he has, he's surrounded by sports 6 days a week here at Brothers, and he knows what he's talking about. I take his advice a lot in betting parlays. He got me into doing FanDuel and DraftKings, and we did a whole show on that. So if you're interested, go back to YouTube. Every one of our shows is posted. We've done over 75 shows in the last year. Feel free to go into our channel on YouTube and click on any of these old shows and just listen to it. It's interesting, and we're an evolving program, and we're talking to some different radio stations, The Fan, maybe KOA, maybe some other stations, and don't be surprised if you don't see us doing either a later night show or maybe a Sunday show. We got to start at the bottom But, you know, that's really where we're headed. And we're going to be doing some events here, some hockey events, some football events. We're going to try to get some alumni schools down here. It's going to be a really good fall. So stay tuned. And, you know, you can look for us anytime. Just Google us, Dr. Jimbo Love Show featuring Seth Matthew. Folks, I want to thank you again for tuning in. Get out there this week, work hard, do your side hustle, and earn it. Thank you so much. I'll see you later.